Welcome to another session of Let's Talk. I'm Ron Toller, one of your co-hosts, and with me on the other side of the room over here is John Meehan. We're part of the Dirty Dozen, but there's only two of us. This program is actually coming to you from the studios of WK Chevrolet here in Sedalia, and they've been kind enough for us to use their facilities.
Yeah.
The purpose of Let's Talk is to keep you, the public, informed of news and happenings in Sedalia and the surrounding area. And hopefully, if we do it right, you will learn something about your community today and people you know or people that you should know.
Mhm.
And the person that you should know today is Ms. Amy Epple. She is the director of Parks and Rec here in Sedalia. And boy, we got a lot to talk about. Good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
Welcome, Amy.
Welcome.
Thanks for
Good to see you, John.
coming.
Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah.
Always excited to come and speak about the parks.
Well, I know you visited with us. Oh gosh, it's been at least a couple years ago.
Seems like it goes by pretty fast.
and
So
it
I lose
was,
track
yeah.
of time. Yeah.
It was right after the Heckart Center opened. I mean, right after. It was just a matter of a week or two, I think. And maybe that's a good place to start.
Yeah.
Kind of give us an update on the Heckart Center. What the happenings have been there. If you've had any roadblocks or you've had any great surprises, let rip.
Yeah. So Heckart Community Center, we're approaching year 3. Some think it's been open longer than that. Others just think it opened yesterday. So that's I guess a good problem to have. We have a little over 7,000 members. Our
Great.
budget is around 4,000 is what we need to be able to operate and break even is what we're looking at. So we do have 7,000. Part of that, I do like to say though, of that 7,000 is those that are maybe on their insurance company, they get it for free. So
Mhm.
we really only get the revenue if they're actually coming in and using it because they don't pay up front. So that's something I really like to push with people, that if you are using it for silver sneakers or whatever it may be, help us by coming in and using it. Use that benefit that your insurance company gives
The card needs to pass by the scanner for you to get
Correct.
credit.
We need you
Mhm.
to come at least 5 times a month for us to be able to be reimbursed for it.
Mhm.
So we only get paid if they actually come.
Mhm.
So it's kind of hard on a budget when you have 7,000 members, if they're not all actually using it, for us to be able to get the revenue inside. But financially, we're doing well. Year 3 is approaching, and we're already discussing updating in our master plan, adding another gym or two to the facility in about 10 years. You asked about roadblocks and problems. I knew that it would be used and it would be well loved and the community would really enjoy it. It's really surprising to me how many outside of Sedalia use it. We have members that are coming from Tipton, Warsaw, Warrensburg, Concordia that have memberships, like monthly memberships where they're coming 3 to 4 days a week.
Those are committed people.
They're committed people and they're coming in and using. And what's great for Sedalia is then they're most likely stopping and shopping or eating while they're here in Sedalia as well, which the Parks Department generates. We operate mostly off of sales tax. So for us, that is important and really helps us out to be able to do more and plan more as if our revenue is up in the community. So that's why I really try to push shop local, because that benefits us to be able to do more.
And Amy, isn't that a big switch? Because our residents here, before the Heckart Center, those residents who were concerned about their health were going to other places like
Correct.
Warrensburg.
Yeah. I ran the community center in Warrensburg for several years. And, we had over 30% of our membership in Warrensburg was from Sedalia. So I knew those people would come here and use it. But it really, I think, has surpassed a lot of people's expectation. I don't want to speak for Sue, but it is one thing I can tell you. She says all the time, like, I knew it was going to make a great impact on this community, but never ever did she think it would make the impact that it has
Right.
made.
Well, and you referenced the fact that when those people come to our community, they shop here locally
Right.
and
They
that sort of
shop here,
thing.
they stop.
And that's good for the sales tax piece for the city of Sedalia and for the
Correct.
Parks Department. But also, that's just a tremendous benefit for those business owners that are in our community.
Exactly.
They're benefiting from the sales.
Right. And that's what we want to see is,
Right.
be able to support local and help, not just our community and our citizens, but the businesses that are here in Sedalia
Right.
as well. So we want to strive that. So
Excellent.
I think our numbers have really, it's a positive, but it's also made some changes for staffing, and how many we had originally to be at the front desk was 2. Now we have 3. There's always those, security of the public as well, with so many people in and out and stuff. So having security in there,
Mhm.
um, and then the needing more gym space. Depending on when you're there, if you come, during the afternoon, it's pretty busy with pickleball. You come in the evening, it's very busy with volleyball, basketball, and then pickleball users and families are using it. So it's a good problem to have. And then parking is the other issue.
Sure.
Always needing more parking. So, in the master plan, we had what was the old high school practice field, of turning that into an indoor soccer facility. And that's still in our plan. But we would like to add 1 to 2 more gyms on and then connect it to that indoor soccer facility. If we continue to, you know, improve and make the money that we need to be making, we try to run it like a business, but it's a service too. Is we've got
Mhm.
to know what is a service and what's not a service. So we always try to still make everything affordable. For a teenager or a senior to come in, it's $20 a month. That's I feel like is a pretty good deal, and you're getting a really good um, product for it as well. So those would be the big thing, is needing more space, and again, parking, and then realizing that our numbers are much more higher than what we had anticipated.
Mhm.
So before we move on, I want to come back and hit a couple things that you were referring to early on. You were talking about having a reserve of 4,000. I don't know if that was that the right number.
A reserve for the number of people,
No, for dollars.
dollars. So our park reserve, we have a little over $1.8 million in reserve for parks.
Well, what I'm referring to is as far as the operation of the Heckart Center goes.
Uh-huh.
Uh, what you were talking about was not necessarily that much money coming out of your account, but the point being, the usage of that facility is providing the funds that just about covers the entire
Correct.
thing.
That's correct. Yes. Yes, that's what. And then, the money that's left over, like last year we were in the positive of the Heckert, which was great. But now we're looking like this year, then we took that money okay, what are some improvements that we make? What do we need to do? If you go upstairs in the fitness area, we added 2 more pieces of equipment because they were equipment that was being used a lot. So the money I don't get paid more, staff doesn't get paid more. It's not where the money goes to that building. It doesn't go to
Mhm.
the aquatic facility or anything. All the money the revenue we bring into the Heckert stays at the Heckert, and that's where we try to spend it or dent it. So I would love
That's
to be
great.
able to start adding some of that money on into our reserve, so that we can hopefully build a new gym, add on to it. Is that what we would do? And then special projects is where some of that money would go as well.
Now, when you were referring to the add-on that you eventually hope to do with I think you said 2 gyms and maybe an indoor soccer facility,
Correct.
that would all be going to the north of the existing facility, right?
Correct.
So would that result in that street that goes by the building on the north side basically going away?
Correct. That's one thing we would have to work with the city and with MoDOT to be able to get that closed down.
Yeah.
That's the Parks Department. We'd really love for the building to be connected for several reasons. And that's what our hope would do. And then we'd put more parking in the middle, so kind of surrounded, so you can share the space as well.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, so that's what our
Wonderful.
I'm no architect or anything, but I do always have my notebook with a sketch of what it is. But that
There
just
you
makes
go.
more sense, and that's what we'd kind of like to see happen.
And then one other thing I wanted to go back and hit, because I know you've mentioned the name Sue a couple times in your comments a little bit ago. And of course, she is referring to Sue Heckart, who is just a tremendous philanthropist for this community. And of course, who the community center is named after, because she had such a huge part in bringing that about.
Yeah, I mean, she pays the interest on the loan, which is a lot of money for me to be able to, have the facility that we have. We would not been able to build. We probably would have only had 1 gym, and the pool probably would have been much smaller than what it is without that, because, we have a budget. We only have so much money that we can spend. So with her donation in memory of her family, that was really what was able to give us the facility that we have today.
Mhm.
And there's no doubt in my mind that she is quite proud of that facility,
Mhm.
because I see her in there a great deal, and she's interacting, of
Oh,
course.
she's
Mhm.
probably there 5 days a week using it. I joked around her at the beginning because she said, I helped build this, but didn't really know if I'd really ever use it. Maybe grab a lunch or two once in a while at the senior center. But she uses it all the time, and I tell her she should be. She's got the most expensive membership, so she really needs to get in there and use it.
That's
But
right.
I think that's great for her as well. She's a healthy lady, and I know she's got goals. And I tell her all the time, I hope that we can throw her a really awesome 100th birthday party there at the Heckart,
Right.
in about 15 years. But keep coming to the facility and using it, and I'm confident she'll hit that 100th birthday if she keeps coming in there and using it and staying happy and healthy.
Before we move on from the Heckart Center, let's talk just a little bit about the type of things. I mean, obviously, any individual can go in there to walk, run. In my case, it's walk, and of course the equipment usage and what have you. But there are a number of organizations that use that facility, and you might touch on that a bit.
Yeah, we have a lot of, I see John in there often. There's a lot of civic groups that use the community rooms to have their meetings. You have Pachyderm, you have Lions Club, you have Rotary, a lot of different organizations. And then you even have small little committees that use it. We have parents as teachers that come in and use it. Project graduation for the high school, they'll come and use it and stuff like that. So we have room space. That's one area we'd like to see continue to grow, is renting out those rooms. It's pretty affordable. You can come in, have lunch at the senior center. You can bring in your own food. But for us, it's great to see, because all the time I talk about, like, this is a community center. It's a place for everyone. It doesn't matter what your age is, what your income is, or anything like that. Is a place for everyone to come. And I really feel like, if, I wish there was some way for us to measure it. But it's really making our community stronger, because you're seeing people. And, I talk about one of my probably most favorite stories is these two ladies. They went to high school over 50 years together. I got a really sweet card from one of their kids who lived in out of state. And it just said, my mom and her, they were in each other's weddings. They had kids, got married, life happened, and they just really never saw each other anymore. They ran into each other by accident at the Heckart. Both of them had just recently lost their spouses, and they reconnected. They get together at least 3 days a week now, and they feel like they're, back in grade school again. And the one daughter sent me a card, and she goes, my mom now, it's when I talk to her, she's looking forward to every day instead of not looking forward to the day. She goes, I'd look to her and say, I'm still here. And she goes, now I listen to her, and she's got this big old agenda. And it's just those things, those that impact. I said, that's what our staff does, is to improve that quality of life. And it's not just about, the health, but the mental health and just the happiness that I hear from people. And that, as they're getting older, they want to keep coming in there and living and being happy and growing. And that's, to me, nothing better.
And while you're speaking of people, I don't want this to get away from us. My observation over the years, and since I've met you and even before, when you look at our entire parks and rec system, and we're not just talking about the Heckart, we're talking about all of the various parks out there, the ball fields, wherever they are at around town. My goodness, we're talking about the flowers you see, growing in, around the city, which are absolutely beautiful. But for our system to be as great as it is, I have to really hand you and all of your staff kudos, because you have to have excellent people for that to happen.
I say that all the time. I say that, I'm very active in Missouri Parks and Rec, and now I've kind of became active in the national level too. But I have a great team. They love what they do. They're passionate about it. They're not coming in because the pay's awesome. It's okay. But they come because they want to make a difference in their community, and they take pride in that. I mean, you look at just Light Up Liberty, the Christmas lights. We just keep adding to that. And my husband is like, your poor maintenance staff. I feel so bad for them. But they love it. And they're out there in the cold making that happen. And it's because they take pride in what they do. They love when they see their neighbors and they talk about the parks or the playgrounds or the, ball field and stuff. And so I say that all the time. It's my team who makes the big difference. It's hire good people and give them the tools they need. I had a parks director that hired me out of college, and he said, I say, give them the tools they need and get out of their way. And, I can't say it enough. It's my staff. I'm surrounded by great people who really make me a better person, and they push me, and we push each other to give our community. This is our community. This is where we live. This is where we're raising our kids, and we want the best, and that's what we strive for every day.
You know, of course, we've spent the time thus far, for the most part, talking about the Heckart Center, and obviously there's a tremendous amount of things to talk about there. But at the same time, since we last visited over a couple years ago, there's a lot of other things that have happened in this community through the park system, and it's really quite amazing. Can you share some of those?
We have a lot of things going on. I mean, from, for a lot of parks directors I talk to, just putting in a brand new playground's a big deal. So, we have a brand new playground that's going up at Katy Park right now. It's celebrating its 50th anniversary here in a couple weeks. So that's a nice thing for me to see happening. And some people, like I said, other parks departments, that's a huge thing. And I think for me, I have to kind of step back sometimes and realize, hey, that is still a big deal. It'll be here for 20 years. It's usually what playgrounds life expectancy is around 20 years. So, that's something that'll make an impact over there at Katy Park, especially, for those that live close by, because that playground was looking a little rough, and we're excited to get this one open and going. So, but, Liberty Stadium, that's to me, that's a jewel. That's one thing that sold me on Sedalia. I come from a big baseball family. So when I came and applied for a position almost 17 years ago, that was one thing I just fell in love with the stadium. So, we're looking at right now, we're putting in the Parks Department's putting in about $1.3 million, and then it's a match grant. So it's almost a $2.7 million project that's going in over there.
For the stadium.
That's
so tremendous.
We're turfing the whole thing, putting in new seating, new plumbing, new electrical. So it's a big project. It's not something small. And, State Fair plays their first game February 11th. So we're excited to be able to see that game going. But that's a huge, a huge accomplishment and something great for Sedalia. We're trying to keep it, to still keep its original bones and look, but still be able to give us the opportunity to host more games there, and to maybe lean on that facility to be something that can be profitable for us, so that we can do other things throughout the parks departments. But hosting tournaments with turf, where you can guarantee that the tournament's going to most likely happen that day. That's what teams are looking for when they're spending that big bucks.
And I think what a lot of listeners, at least some listeners, do not realize as far as the history of that place goes, but that was one of the works projects that came out of the FDR administration. So it's been around a long time.
Oh yeah, and you'll be surprised. I mean, we get at least 20 people that are passing through the country that says, hey, we're big avid baseball fans. Is there anything that we could do? Stop in and see the facility. We'll be coming through on Friday at 4:00. And I'm like, well, there's actually a game, so you can, if you want to, stop in. But people love that stuff. And for us to have something like that here in Sedalia, I think sometimes some of us maybe take it for granted. But you go other places, for players to play here, that is exciting for them. And that's something they will remember.
It's another one of those versions of build it and they will come.
That's exactly, that's exactly true. Yes, it is.
So, if I remember right, I think it's been relatively recent, the big splash park.
Yeah, so we have out at Hubbard Park, we put in a brand new playground. When it celebrated, it's our second oldest park. It celebrated 100 years, 3 years ago. So we put a splash pad in over there. That was one thing when we've done some surveying that, the community wanted to see a splash pad. So, I did a lot of history on Sedalia when I came here, and I had learned that Hubbard used to have its own pool. And, I read in articles that they were told they'd always get one, and that never happened. And I know how much a pool costs. We can't build one over there. But we're like, how about a splash pad? A splash pad's great. It's free. Anyone could use it. It's great. If you don't have air conditioning in the summertime, it's a great place to be able to go. And for those that maybe don't know how to swim, it's great as well. And it's for all ages. So it's open, from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. We always have it open by Memorial Day, and we usually keep it open after Labor Day. So it's been a big hit. We have one in the master plan to go over at Centennial, and we've actually last year added another one to go over at Liberty as well. That's later on down. But we kind of keep adding and listening, and who knows, it can always be taken back out. But we do have a baseball theme one to go over at Centennial. It's a baseball Cardinals theme. Really neat. Looks like a ball field.
Well, you got the right team too.
Yeah, we had to use both. We have a divided staff, so we'll put both right in there. So Cardinals and Royals. So we're always looking and growing, and feedback's the big thing. Like I always say, I have an open door policy. Share with us. I try to stay well educated and go to conferences, and I'm fortunate that a lot of Zoom meetings you can go. I have a lot of directors around the country that we sit down twice a month and just kind of talk and share things and what's going on in your area. And some things that maybe are on happening in Oregon and Washington are not things that right now here in Sedalia, but there's things to think about. In 15, if you guys would have told me about pickleball 15 years ago, I would have said we're not building any, like no one's going to use that. Now it's the most popular sport, and it's not just for retirees. Me and my daughter this summer, she just kept saying, we need more pickleball courts. I'm always over there to play at night, and I can't have to wait forever. So, it's the teens that are wanting to play as well. So it's family oriented. So that's one thing, in our master plan that we're continuing to look at, but we've really kind of bumped that up. We're wanting to do the project over at Centennial, and that'll be pickleball courts that we put over there in the splash pad. So that's something John Simmons now works for the Parks Department. He's our grant writer. And then he also does data for us as well and some other projects. But he just submitted a grant. It's a $500,000 grant. It's a match grant. So the Parks Department would have to put $500,000. But we wrote that grant to go towards the Centennial project. So we'll know here in February if we get that or not. So hopefully we can get that ball rolling soon.
And will the pickleball location at Centennial Park, will it be indoors or outdoors?
It would be outdoors.
Outdoors along with the splash park.
With the splash pad. Yes, it will. And we're going to be doing a survey here just to see, the tennis courts that we have currently right now, we're looking at in the budget of maybe converting 2 of those tennis courts into 3 pickleball courts. That would be like official pickleball courts.
Okay.
So the first year we'll be doing a survey just to see what the
Mhm.
interest is for that for the next fiscal year as well. So it's always planning.
We've talked about a number of the bigger parks, but you're also always doing things with the smaller parks. It wasn't that long ago, I know you did the big renovation over at Vermont and also Housel.
Yes.
So they all get it one way or the other.
Yeah, I mean, we have 7 parks, so we're always kind of looking at every single park. I divide the parks up, each of our maintenance, one of them is responsible for one of the parks, but they have other, job responsibilities too. But what can you do? We look at Housel Park. We play a lot of baseball games over in the summertime. There's not a lot of parking over there. We're still trying to always work, would love to work with, Union Pacific to be able to, work with them some way to be able to have more parking. And, long term, I would love to see us be able to expand that park over there. But there's a lot of things that have to happen for that to work. But it's one of those things some of my staff, they were like, Amy, you're always thinking way outside the box. It's a lot. I don't think that could ever happen. I'm like, well, if we don't write it down and think about it and vision it, it'll never happen. So at least have a plan. I'm doing my job. Think outside the box, continue to grow. Sedalia is growing. From I was here, 17 years ago, it has changed so much, and we just continue to grow. And if we're not growing and looking to the future, then we're not doing our jobs correctly. So,
That's right.
If it doesn't happen, we didn't really lose out on anything. But plan and know where we're going. We talk about my big goal for before I retire is I really would love to have where every household in the Sedalia city limits, that you can walk to any park within 10 minutes. And so, we have 7 parks right now, but I would like to see us have some parks. I put the map out all the time, and we talk about a lot of things that, the west side of 65 doesn't have any parks other than Cloverdale. So as the community grows, we need to make sure that we're watching where we're growing. And, is there a park close enough for people to safely get to it, or especially by bike or by walking?
That's a very good point, because when you look at the growth of Sedalia right now, the vast majority of it is to the southwest. And you're right. The only thing out there is Cloverdale.
Cloverdale. Yes, it is. So those are the things that I feel like I am responsible as the parks director is to look at those things. Like, how are we growing? What are we doing to make sure that we're serving our whole community? And like I said, you change it every year. I'm always pulling out that master plan and making updates to it and changing it. And I do it all the time. And I listen to people. People send me articles of where their kids live and, hey, this is what they're doing in their community. Great, let's flip through and look at it. So, and it's a team effort. My staff is always looking at things and we add it, but if you're not always looking and building, you know, I don't want to stay the same, you know, enjoy what we have right now and make sure we're taking care of that, but let's make sure we're growing at the same time.
I remember saying this, I don't know how many times in my work life to my team members, but you know, the concept was if we're not growing, we're going the other direction.
Correct. Right. And I hope that my staff would say that. You know, I want them, it's not just our community, but I want my staff, I want there to be growth for them as well too. I have a really good team. But they're pretty competitive and, you know, they want more and I always want to push them too. So that's one thing, even as our staff, is like when they come in, you know, Courtney Fry right now is my assistant director for Parks and Recreation. She came in as a superintendent, but our department's grown and she's got a lot to give. So there's things that I can do more if I can hand off some for her as well. So, you know, John Simmons, if I would ever said I have a grant and data and stats person, people would have laughed. And, you know, there's like 3 other parks directors now are like, give me that job description. Like never ever thought about that. But, you know, for John, 2 grants he's already got for us, you know, it's currently right now, it's only set to be a temporary full-time position for 3 years, just because the way that our master plan is. And with our budget, we're going to be out of money because I cannot ask for any more sales tax or any tax
Right.
at all. But with him with grants, that can keep us going and bringing in more money to be able to do more projects. And it's not just about building them, but I have to keep in mind too, is like, we have to maintain them and it costs more money to maintain things. So how can we do things like the stadium where we can actually make revenue off of it as well? So it's not just building it, but bringing in revenue as well to help. So, and then there's other things like the splash pad and the pickleball courts. Those I can't really bring in a whole lot of revenue. But birthday parties that are out there that rent the shelters, that's going to bring in some money. And then pickleball, you can host tournaments and different things, but it's more of a service than an actual generator of revenue.
A little bit ago, you mentioned Katy Trail, which obviously is another tremendous asset to this community. But Parks and Rec, you don't really have any involvement with the maintenance of that, right?
We do not. That's really all through the state. And then the city has a little bit for where they added on over at Housel. I hope that's something that we start doing more of. If you look in the master plan, you know, with the new outdoor aquatic facility in the bowling alley, we're putting that right next to the Katy Trail, which is what I hope will be able to help the Parks Department start to branch off and do more trails, not just in our park system, but in the whole city. And that's where we will start. And that's where in the master plan, it has us starting.
That's
Interesting. You should mention the aquatic park because that's where I was going next.
Reading your mind.
But before we actually hit it, though, and of course, for years we had the 2 pools, one at Centennial and one at Liberty. And of course, Centennial was already closed down before this last swim season.
Correct.
And by the way, because I haven't been by there of late, is it that area where the splash pad is going? So you're able to reuse it?
Yeah, so we'll have to bulldoze that over. Like the sun deck and everything, all of that was already like closed off by engineers about 2.5, 3 years ago now, where we couldn't even allow anybody to be on it for safety. But we will bulldoze that whole thing. It will have a huge, large back retaining wall that goes back where our maintenance shop is. We'll put the pickleball courts where like the lap lanes were, and then the splash pad will be over closer to the gazebo, and then we'll build new bathhouse and some shelters over there as well. So, you know, we're going to use the area that we have it. We know there's plumbing already in. There's for the pool, which would be the splash pad. There's things that won't cost us as much, but tearing it down is going to cost us quite a bit. I mean, you're looking at $200,000 to tear that all down, which is expensive. But that was one pool. We put a lot of money in it, kept putting Band-Aids on it to fix it.
Yeah, where does that water go?
I can tell you the amount of money that we spent it's a little embarrassing and hard, but you know, that was one thing Park Board really wanted us to keep that pool open, just keep making it. That summer I did not sleep well because every day I was worried, are we going to be able to be open today? Or are we going to have to close it? Maintenance did really well about being able to keep things going. So Liberty Pool, we still have probably 3 to 5 years of Liberty Pool. You know, we have parts from Centennial, so we're able to use. So when we're working on the design of the new aquatic facility, you know, we'll keep Liberty open until the new aquatic facility is open.
Okay, that was my question, because when you said 3 to 5 years, the first thing I thought of was, I thought that was going to closed down as
Yes.
soon as the aquatic was open, and that is the
And it
case.
is true. It'll close down. There's no way that we could, the new aquatic facility is, going to be about the size of 2 pools. So staff wise, lifeguarding is hard enough. We would not be able to have the brand new aquatic facility and operate Liberty Pool. So we will keep Liberty Pool open until the new aquatic facility is. But once it is open, then at that time we will close Liberty Pool. Just there's no way that we can operate it and run it
Sure.
as it is. And then, we have some things, and I'm not going to talk a whole lot because we're not positive on what we're going to do over at Liberty. We are going to be asking the public's input and everything on what to do over in that area. But it's not huge. I mean, it's big, but for the plans that we have down the road and things that are going over there, we really need more parking over in that area.
I believe it,
And
yeah.
so that'll take up a lot of space as well. With the stadium grant that we're doing right now, that parking lot will actually be asphalt. There'll actually be lines, so we're not just parking where we want in the gravel or anything like that. So that'll be a little helpful, but it's
That's
still not going to make
tremendous, just there alone doing
it
that.
is. And we're also working with Public Works. The city is going to be working with us. Come January, we're going to be doing some diagonal parking. They're in Liberty Park Boulevard, where the big shelter is in Liberty Park as well.
Mhm.
And we have some terrible drainage issues over there. So they're working with us to be able to make some improvements over there. So that'll add some more parking as well. But we're all guilty of it. We come to work out at a fitness class and we're complaining because we had a park far away. but that happens. So that's the one thing is I tell everybody, it's like, yes, it would be nice to do all these things, but we have to remember parking as well when you do, and parking lots cost a lot of money.
Mhm.
And it's just like the stadium, we're doing everything and we want to do it correct. And drainage was the big thing that we had to do over there, is to really make the drain of the water from the stadium, making sure it's not coming in across the street into the basements and the homes that are across the street. So we did have to spend quite a bit of money to be able to do that. And that's money. People don't see those things,
Mhm.
but it's just like home. You have to spend. Yes, I'd love to buy the new furniture and everything, but I really need to take care of the, electrical at home instead. So you
Mhm.
got to do those things that maybe the public doesn't see, but it needs to be done.
Let's stay on the subject of things to come, which obviously you've already mentioned the aquatic center, and you briefly mentioned the bowling facility there as well. And by the way, we have to also thank Sue Heckart again for that project, because again, she's a big part of it. But elaborate on those projects a little bit.
Yeah, so we're in the design process right now for the aquatic facility and the bowling alley. So they're 2 different projects, but they're really one since they're with the park. We recently just approved the design team, which is Welker Holfer. They're actually doing the firehouse as well for the fire department, which will be on that parcel of property. So for us, we felt like that was the best fit. We have a design team that can just now design it kind of still as one project and save some money for the city and for the parks department, because we are part of the city. That's one thing. I mean, we
Mhm.
kind of operate different. We have a board, so it is different, but we're still the city and it's still the city fund. So how can we save money? So I'm excited for this project. I've never worked with this firm, but they really pleased us and wowed us and answered all the questions that we needed to. And they've done several bowling alleys and aquatic facilities. So we're in the design process right now. There's some things that comes with budget. You don't know where you're at. So, it's going to be 16 lane bowling alleys, what we're looking at for Memory Lane.
Great.
So we got Sweet 16 to think of lanes. But, our esports is one program that's really growing. It's growing a lot. And, you have with the junior high over there, for the kids to be able to walk right across the street after school for esports would be beneficial. So there's some other things where it's not just maybe it's going to be a bowling alley, but there might be some other things in there. And I'm not going to elaborate a whole lot, but esports is one thing we're looking at moving over there.
Where is it now?
It's at the Heckart, and we have to take it down, put it up, take it down. It's a lot. But we have one gentleman, Jeff is he's kind of our IT guy for the parks department, and then he does esports as well. He spends a lot of time tearing down, putting up, tearing down, putting up. But that's a program. I mean, we'll get 30 kids maxing out for that, no problem. So we've talked about, if there's enough money in the budget to be able to build the esports program over there. And then, you never know, we might see if we can put some more pickleball courts indoor. There's some other things that we've discussed. So it all comes down to budget. So I don't want to elaborate a whole lot. People say, oh, we're getting that. I got to be careful on what I say too, because there is a budget. It's a $3 million and then an $8 million for the aquatics. So I have $11 million
So
budget.
will the aquatic center be completed before the other project? Will it open before the other?
So I will be honest, like we would love for it to, but it looks like now the bowling alley is probably going to open before the aquatic facility. Um, Again, we're in the design phase and everything, but to do everything correctly and not rush it, that's one big thing I want to push with us being fortunate that Liberty is doing so well. I don't want to rush where we're trying to open up, 2026 Memorial Day. It would be great and it will easily happen. The bowling alley will open fall of 2026. But it could possibly be that the aquatic facility then wouldn't open until summer of 2027. So some people's like, that's forever away. It's really not that far away.
Not.
I promise it's not. But we want to do it and do it correctly. And that's the big thing I want to stress. And when you're doing a pool, it's the winter and everything all right now we won't break ground until this summer. That's going to be a rush to get it open by the following year. There's just projects and things that we've been working on that just we didn't get the timeline that we hoped to get, and that's okay. Like I said, we're not worried that there's no pool for anybody to swim in the summertime. And the other part I want to kind of push is, our numbers, we were really concerned about Liberty Pool being where we'd have to tell people they couldn't come because we'd hit our max capacity. We didn't even get close this summer. The numbers were pretty much the same, but we did get way more people over at the Heckart because they were coming over there that normally go to Centennial. So we hope that, brings it back over to the new aquatic facility, but we have a place for them. So I would rather us do it right and make sure that we give the community exactly what they need. And if that means we have to wait one more summer, then that's what we'll have to do.
Yep.
But bowling alley would open fall of 2026. I'm not positive if it's going to be early 26 or later on in 2026. But in 2 years, we'll have the bowling alley open for sure.
Great.
I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but
No.
I am going to ask the question. Can you share with our listeners anything that's in the thinking stage that, just isn't totally...
Like in the master plan anywhere?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the ice skating rink is one thing we talk about a lot that we go back and forth on. That's one big thing. Another thing is we are going to be here in just a couple of years redoing the fields out at Centennial. Our soccer fields are used a lot.
That makes me feel old because I remember when we first put them in.
But, those are things people don't realize how much cost. I mean, I do budgets and budgets. It's not that I just have one buddy that's a friend that I'm going to make rich do this project, but you're looking and you're getting numbers and stuff. But just redoing all the lights and then putting in lights at other fields and then redoing the fields, you're looking over $3 million just on those 8 fields out there and the lights.
Wow.
But if you look at the stadium right now, we're doing a project there. It's turf, it's not grass, but you're only doing one field and it's almost $3 million for that. But that was a match grant. And, some people were like, why didn't you do that at Centennial? Well, that grant had a couple different things that had to qualify, and the soccer field did not hit those at all. I think one got one box checked, but that's it. And the stadium, because of its age and its history, hit every single box that we needed. The other thing that I will share, and I talk about this all the time, I would really love to see Convention Hall come back to what it used to look like.
Good point.
And that's in the master plan, and that's one thing John's really looking at, like what grants are out there, but really putting the porch back out on front, that had the arch driveways on the side. Convention Hall is one of those I think gets neglected a little bit. It's well used and it's busy every single night over there. But as we're building other things, maybe those programs can move somewhere else and we can make Convention Hall more of a reception area or something that we do a little bit differently, but bring that charm back to Convention Hall. Liberty Park is a beautiful park. But I look at those old pictures and I just think, why didn't we do that? But you didn't have the money at the time. So I understand why, but that is one thing that I'd really like to see as well. And then the last thing I'll kind of hit that would be a big thing. It's not a project, but we are looking at trying to start a Friends of the Park Foundation. That's one thing. I cannot run that because I am a paid employee, but it is one thing that I am working on to see if I can try to get a group that can run that and be in charge of it. But I hope that the community sees that our Parks Department is something that is well loved and, part of their memories and, their future and they want to see it be something great. And that's one thing that I would love to see where people have somewhere that they can give. It's not to the parks, but they could give to the parks to help us with our projects. If it be something small, right now we do trees and benches and stuff, but they could just give straight to that instead of to the parks, and to have a committee that runs. So that's one big thing that is on my list. It's just getting it done and getting it done correctly. And I don't work 40 hours a week, but that's what I'm supposed to work. But you run, that 40 hours goes fast. So, in 60 hours a week, I'm trying to get everything done, and you just can't get it done. So that's one thing that I have that I think would be very beneficial for the Parks Department as a whole. And I'd like to see happen. But again, it'll get something that I start, but I can't continue with it. I just would work with them.
A couple other things I want to hit real quick, one of which is happening right now, and that is the Christmas display over at
Yes.
Liberty. That thing is tremendous.
Yeah, it's huge. It's growing. That's one thing I talk about. We have a 10-year master plan just for Light Up Liberty. So we're on year 4, gearing up. This will be year 5 actually, of continuing to grow that every single year. And it started off as one thing. It was a vision. When I was here, someone talked about how they used to have it in organizations would take a little area and decorate and everything. And I asked Mark Hewitt, the past director, I said, why did it stop? And he's like, vandalism and stuff. I'm like, can we do it again? And he goes, not why I'm here, but if you want to do it, go ahead. So that was one thing I told Park Board that I'd really like to see that happen if it could. So I did some research. Mark was great. He's always great. I pick up the phone and can talk to him anytime. And he always shoots me straight, and we can bounce things off of each other. So I appreciate always having Mark to talk to. But he gave me, some vision and some suggestions, and we kind of ran with it from there. And that was one of our big projects from COVID that kind of came from, because, a lot of people stopped working or couldn't be at work and whatever reason. Our Parks Department, all of our employees still came to work every single day. We were responsible. We tried to make sure that we took care of everybody and still provided, free space for people to use safely in our Parks Department. And that's when our staff kind of started meeting in our staff meetings, and like, this is the time to do it. So let's hit it off. And that's when we started. It was in 2020 is when we started up Light Up Liberty.
Last thing I wanted to hit on is your, I'll call it, catalog of programs. And the way that thing is growing depth-wise, it is a catalog.
Yeah.
Are you, does that come out twice a year?
Twice a year. Yeah, we do. We'll do the, let's see how it goes. It goes spring and summer, and then fall and winter. So we'll have one coming out here in the next couple of weeks. And it really just kind of, for us, it was something we did when I was in Warrensburg. It's a good way for just every single person in Sedalia to be able to see what's in there, and hopefully sit down and, take that step to say, hey, maybe I should just walk the track. Walking the track at the Heckart's free. It doesn't cost anything. You just have to check in. We have several people that are over 50 that do not know how to swim, that are taking private swim lessons because they want to learn how to swim. Just kind of pushing yourself. And especially right here, we're getting to be the new year, like making goals. Like, I'm sure most people still make goals. I know my household does, but what are your goals? And I feel like in the Parks Department, we can do, if it's, just an hour to yourself every single day. Well, it could be at the Heckart. It could be at the park, just walking. It could, try something new. And that's one thing I push, I'm in my 40s, but I'm still looking for hobbies and things that I want to try. It's like, maybe someone can say, what's this pickleball? Show up. I think it might be something you might not like it, but give it a try. We're never too old to try something. So that's my one big thing with that activity guide, is to get them, or, hey, my grandkids would love this. Take them to it. I remember having kids that were little. I love to take them to that stuff, but I won't lie, it was nice to have a free Saturday morning if Grandma and Grandpa were going to take them to something too. So see what's in there. The other thing that we're kind of doing this year that's different is we're selling, we only have 500, but we're going to sell the $5, no matter if it's adults or kids, but just a day pass to the Heckart. And you can come. So like my husband, it was like, we'll buy 20 of them and we give them to Santa, and Santa will be handing them out to different people throughout the community. So, but I know the Lions Club has stepped up, and they gave some, and we were able to deliver those to the senior housing. And they were so excited to have those, because some of us come to the Heckart every single day, but there are still many people in Sedalia that have never been there. And some of it, I think, is just that comfort of, going there and stepping in. And I say it over and over again, once you step in, you'll keep coming back. So push your neighbors or someone at church to come and try out the Heckart and look at the activity guide. There's so much in there. We have the senior center there as well. I promise you, I would love to challenge anyone. There's nothing there for me. Call me up. I will find something for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. That wraps up another session. Everybody get out and use those parks, use the rec programs. It is truly something that Sedalia should be proud of. And a lot of thanks goes out to Amy and her team for making that the case.
And Ron, I would echo that. Having the opportunity to work with Amy and the way that the Sedalia Parks Department works with the city of Sedalia and all the other groups throughout Sedalia, and what a tremendous relationship that has been with partnerships. And it goes all the way back to where the Parks Department needed some extra fields, and there was plenty of very hard rock ground in front of the Smith Cotton High School. And so a partnership was created there. And where the Lions Club and the Rotary Club have come to help develop some of those many parts together, and that just all makes a better community.
We're all better together. That's why I say it all the time.
That's right. So thank you for your cooperation
thanks.
on that.
I'm just blessed to have the job I have. I can't say enough. I have a job I love, and very fortunate to have it.
There you go.
All right.
For John Meehan, I'm Ron Toller, and we will talk again.
There you go.
Thank you, guys.